Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating dual-engine masterclass. We're going to explore exactly how to clear those internal, subconscious money blocks that are artificially capping your wealth. And then, once that foundation is completely set, we'll shift gears and look at the external mechanics of the viral scripting blueprint, which is used to engineer massive digital leverage. It's this absolutely incredible synergy of internal psychology and external scale.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll hit 1, the psychology of wealth, 2, identifying 3 money blocks, and 3, rewiring your default mode. Then we're going to pivot to 4, the virus scripting blueprint, 5, engineering audience retention, and finally wrap up with 6, optimizing for the algorithm. Let's just jump right in.
All right, section 1, the psychology of wealth, the invisible problem. We need to unpack the subconscious programming that keeps incredibly talented people totally stagnant.
Now, why do incredibly hardworking people stay broke while others scale massive wealth? Notice what I just did there? We're actually starting off by applying a classic 0 to 20-second hook directly from our viral scripting blueprint. By asking a bold, totally unexpected question right out of the gate, we instantly grab your attention and set the stakes for everything that follows. But to actually answer that question, we've got to talk about what psychologists call implicit learning. Think about how you learned to walk. You didn't sit down and map out a lesson plan, right? You just observed your environment. Well, the exact same thing happened with your beliefs about money. This implicit learning acts like an invisible pipeline in our brain's default mode network, which is essentially your brain's autopilot system. It quietly collected every passing comment, every argument, and every stressed reaction you ever heard about money growing up, literally programming your financial thermostat without your permission.
And look, this brilliantly illustrates why your background absolutely does not dictate your future. A staggering 66% of wealthy entrepreneurs in India and 67% globally are entirely self-made. No inheritance, no trust funds. They came from the exact same environments of limitation and scarcity that many of us did, but they somehow bypassed or broke through those middle-class traps. The difference wasn't luck, you guys. It was a total rewiring of their money blocks.
Moving along to section 2, identifying 3 money blocks, the subconscious saboteurs. Let's figure out what these specific blockages actually are.
Based on our source material, there are 3 primary money blocks that act as negative programming in our default mode network. And if left unchecked, these blocks effectively render all your hard work useless, because your brain will literally self-sabotage your efforts just to stay within its comfort zone. Let's break them down.
First up is the scarcity block. Imagine a friend gets a massive promotion or buys a fancy new house. If your very first microsecond reaction is a tight chest or thinking, why not me? Well, that's the scarcity reaction. Your brain is viewing wealth as a limited pie. Conversely, the true wealth mindset utilizes an expansion reaction. When they see success, their immediate reaction is rooted in curiosity and inspiration. They ask, wow, how did they do that? And what can I learn?
Okay, the science backing this up is mind-blowing. In 2013, researchers Sendhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir from Princeton and Harvard proved that the mere feeling of scarcity actually impairs your brain's processing power. It physically reduces your cognitive bandwidth. This means if you have the scarcity block, your decision-making power and your creative thinking literally shrink, locking you into survival mode, even if your bank account is technically totally fine. The second barrier is the identity block. You know, for decades, movies and society have kind of conditioned us to view rich people as villains and poverty as somehow pure or noble. This creates a massive cognitive dissonance. You consciously want to be wealthy, for sure, but your subconscious rejects the opportunities because it equates wealth with becoming a bad person. To fix this, you've got to realize that money simply multiplies morality. If you're a good person, money just gives you the resources to do way more good. And our third and final barrier is the self-worth block, which is heavily tied to imposter syndrome. Documented back in 1978, this affects a massive 70% of high achievers. It creates this invisible financial ceiling. Your brain decides you just aren't good enough for massive success, so you underprice your services, or you don't apply for that huge promotion. Your brain literally views success past a certain line as fundamentally unsafe.
Which brings us to section 3, rewiring your default mode, breaking the blocks. How do we actually fix this?
Look, you can't just suppress a lifetime of limiting money beliefs. If you tell yourself don't think about scarcity, you're literally still thinking about scarcity. Instead, you must actively reparent your brain by replacing those old pathways with brand new actions. You need to consciously shift to an expansion mindset when you see success. You've got to actively seek out evidence of highly moral, generous, wealthy people to completely shatter that identity block. And most importantly, remember that action always precedes confidence. You must take bold action first and let the realization of your worth catch up second.
All right, Section 4, the viral scripting blueprint, external engineering. With our internal roadblocks cleared out, let's pivot to the mechanics of external scale.
So this blueprint is your ultimate external tool. It's designed to take your newly unblocked potential and translate your ideas into highly valued digital content. This isn't about just summarizing dry information. It's about transforming material into a cinematic experience that is fully optimized for global reach and massive audience retention.
When you look at these optimization factors, the contrast is just stark. A cinematic, viral script relies heavily on tension, curiosity gaps, and emotional triggers. This directly opposes the robotic explanations, generic transitions, and textbook writing that absolutely kill audience retention and destroy channel growth. You have to craft an engaging narrative, not just recite facts.
Moving to Section 5, Engineering Audience Retention, keeping the viewer hooked. Let's break down the exact timeline.
Look, a viral script basically lives or dies in the first 20 seconds. If you don't secure their investment immediately, the algorithm just buries your content. There's no way around it. You must lead with an incredibly bold statement, a mystery, or an unexpected question. The viewer needs to feel a real psychological urgency that they absolutely must keep watching to find the answer. And here's the actual anatomy of retention. Between 20 and 40 seconds, you establish an open loop, promising a payoff later in the content. We're actually doing this right now. Notice how I set up the open loop about algorithm mastery at the very beginning of this explainer to ensure you'd stick around for these exact rapid-fire tactics. You string the viewer along by deploying a retention trigger every 30 to 45 seconds. Phrases like, "But here's where things get interesting," to strategically delay those payoffs and build intense anticipation. And finally, Section 6, Optimizing for the Algorithm, the technical package. Because, storytelling is the art, but SEO is the undeniable science. Looking at this vital technical metadata, it becomes super clear that even the most compelling script is going to remain an invisible masterpiece without proper search intent mapping. You need primary and secondary keywords, 20 search tags, and 15 hashtags, a robust 300 to 500 word SEO description to give the algorithm context, and optimized chapters to enhance the user experience. It's the total package. Which brings us to the ultimate intersection of today's explainer. I really want to leave you with this final community discussion prompt to reflect on. Have your internal money blocks, that scarcity, that identity conflict, that imposter syndrome, been the invisible force holding back your external digital leverage all along? Now that you have the viral blueprint to scale, are you finally ready to clear those internal pipelines, step fully into your worth, and hit record? Think about it. We'll see you next time.